In this video, I want to talk a wee bit about the science of laughter and share some of the scientific research into what laughter does to your body. And then I'll give you some suggestions about how to bring more laughter into your life. And if you stick with me till the end, I'll even share with you some of my favourite science-based jokes. Right, so that's the threat. If you stay till the end, I will unleash upon you some of my favourite. You might not find them funny at all, but anyway, it's my sense of humour. Anyway, let's get to the science first. So some laughter actually has loads and loads of mental and physical benefits, lots of physiological effects. In fact, first of all, researchers sometimes call laughter internal jogging. You know that kind of sense when you're really laughing, you're chuckling to yourself. Have you ever stopped for a moment and wondered, you know, what that's actually doing? Because what you're actually doing, you're giving your muscles a workout, and you're also massaging all the insides of your body, including your internal organs. So there's a really positive wee boost you get just from the physical movement that comes with laughter. But at the same time, we know that laughter boosts happiness, it boosts positive mood, and boosts chemicals associated with happiness and positive mood. At the same time, it counters stress, and we know from research that it reduces the stress levels of the stress hormone cortisol. Laughter also helps to alleviate anxiety, and it's even protective against depression when we can have laughter a lot in our lives. We even know from research that laughter can improve sleep quality. So that's some of the kind of the mental benefits, the mental health benefits of laughter. What about the physical effects out with the internal jogging part of it? Well, we know that laughter can reduce blood pressure. It can also improve blood circulation. A University of Texas study even found that laughter improved arterial function. Incredibly, the effect lasted for about nearly 24 hours. And when this kind of scientific research gets done, what they're actually doing, they're asking people to watch funny videos, even comedy programs on TV, or anything that might just trigger a wee bit of laughter. Also on the physical effects, we even know from research that laughter improves immune function. In fact, one study found that laughter produced a significant elevation in levels of natural killer cells. We also know from research that laughter improves pain tolerance and can actually reduce pain. In fact, the first research, what triggered all of this research into the scientific benefits of laughter was was an example of laughter reducing pain. It was after the journalist Norman Cousins had been living with a debilitating connective tissue disease and ankylosing spondylitis, and he found that 10 minutes of real, what he called belly laughter, you know, by watching comedy programs on TV, 10 minutes of what he called belly laughter resulted in 2 hours of pain-free sleep. So there was a pain cancelling effect that lasted about 2 hours. And he went on to write a book that became a bestseller called Anatomy of an Illness, and that's by Norman Cousins. Now, we now better understand why and how Norman Cousins had those pain-relieving effects. First of all, we know that laughter actually increases levels of endorphins, which are our natural painkillers, and we know that laughter can increase our pain tolerance. In other words, we've got a greater tolerance for the same amount of pain, and that probably is related to an increased levels of these endorphins that just neutralise the pain right at its source in the brain. We also know that what contributes to the pain-killing effect is laughter also can produce a significant anti-inflammatory effect. So if pain is coming from inflammation, then we know that the anti-inflammatory effect from laughter can help to alleviate some of that pain. And here's another one. Here's a wee fact-ish thing for you. Have you ever found yourself laughing at an inappropriate moment? You know, maybe you've been in a church and it's totally quiet and you just can't stop yourself laughing. I remember at school, the teacher was reading a book and I just burst out laughing. I just couldn't stop. And the more I was aware the class was totally quiet, the more I was aware that I shouldn't laugh, I just couldn't help laughing. Now, there's two theories as to why we have this tendency to laugh at seemingly inappropriate moments. One theory goes that we're sensing some tension in the space, and the brain is actually kicking in the laughter to try to help us, for our own benefit and everyone else, to relieve some of that tension. The other theory goes, which is more about just ourselves, the other theory goes that if we've felt stressed or exhausted or overwhelmed, then laughter, when it comes out of us at these inappropriate moments, it's like a reflex type effect that's helping us to relax our own nervous system. And in a sense, laughter is helping us to self-regulate. But whatever the mechanism, if you find yourself laughing at inappropriate moments, don't worry about it, don't feel embarrassed about it. It's actually just your brain's way of trying to make some form of peace or some way of regulating your own nervous system and helping everyone else possibly. And in fact, talking about making peace, another bit of research on laughter found that laughter helps to connect us and form bonds, and partly it's partly that the brain is recognizing that we are comfortable sharing the space. So if you're laughing, because most of the time we laugh, you're actually laughing with someone else, or not, maybe a lot of the time you're laughing with another person. So what your brain is recognizing is, I'm comfortable sharing this space with this person. And so begins to alter your perception of things and your feelings and thoughts about the person, and barriers come down, trust improves, communication begins to flow freely. And in a sense, laughter can even act like a quiet peacemaker. So there's some of the effects of laughter. Did you know actually that babies laugh about 300 times a day? So maybe it's time, maybe it'd be good for us adults to get up some of our laughter statistics. So here is a couple of suggestions. These are kind of things that I do from time to time, some of them a lot myself. So the first thing I would suggest is talk to a friend who's got a good sense of humour. Do you have a friend, or you know someone who every time you're hanging out with them, their patter, as they call it in Scotland, we call it a person's patter. That's just the way they talk, the sort of things they say, the way they say it, we call it your patter. And if someone's got good patter, then you like hanging out with them because they always make you laugh. So seek out those friends, whether physical or just give them a phone, and try to get more interaction with that person, or an interaction as soon as you can with that person. Another thing I love doing is watching comedy shows on TV. And my favourite, I have to say, all-time favourite is Friends. And even though it first ran through the 90s and the 2000s, I can just randomly select any of the 200 and odd episodes of Friends, and no matter what episode it is, I will find myself feeling warm and fuzzy inside, but also gut-wrenching laughter, no matter what it is, what the episode's about, just by the antics, the dialogue, the whole comedy theme of it. It just always just gets me going. Now, another wee suggestion, this is a scientifically tested thing, is practice laughter yoga. And the way you do laughter yoga is you take a big deep breath, and then just let out a laugh. You just force it out initially, just go ha ha ha, and just force out a big laughter. And just do it for about 5 minutes or so. And the first couple of times you do it, you might find I'm just forcing this, but quite shortly you'll find that what started as a forced laughter becomes an actual, real belly laugh. And we know from science that produces many of the physiological effects of laughter. So those are the kind of things that I personally like doing. You can also cut out wee clips or stuff of comedy sketches, from magazines and newspapers that you like, if you've seen them in the past, and stick them up around your house to remind you to lighten up at times. So give them a go as well. So anyway, that's all the kind of science and the suggestions. I wanted to finish with the threat that I made at the start, to share with you some of my favourite, I suppose, science-based jokes. So here goes. I apologise in advance for if you don't find any or all of these funny. So here's the first one. One tectonic plate bumped into another tectonic plate and turns around and says, "Oh, sorry, my fault." Did you know who was the first electricity detective? Sherlock Holmes. A chemist walks into a pharmacist, and he asks the pharmacist, "Excuse me, do you have any acetyl salicylic acid?" And the pharmacist says, "What, you mean aspirin?" And he goes, "Oh, I can never remember that word." So, I was reading a book recently and the book was all about helium. I just couldn't put it down. Do you know you should never trust atoms because they make up everything? A dung beetle walks into a bar. He points to the side and he says, "Is this stool taken?" Did you hear about the scarecrow who won a Nobel Prize? He was outstanding in his field. Geneticists recently found the gene for shyness. Now, they would have found it several years earlier, but apparently it was hiding behind 2 other genes. So anyway, apologies for the jokes. My sense of humour, I like the wee bit of science edge to my jokes. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. At the very least, even got a wee laugh at my jokes at the end, or even a laugh at my expense at the idea that I actually find these things funny. So anyway, go forth and laugh, and I hope you can find something funny to laugh at today. I hope you can, just by keeping your mind open to the fact that laughter is good for you, may you see more of the funny side of life today.